These are the ancient Saxon boundaries of Podden Ho in Honeybourne in Worcestershire. This sydon þara feoÄer hida landgemere at Podden Ho, they onsundran geleggen is. Ærest of Honeybourne on Podden Ho. Of Podden Ho on Broc, of Broc abutan mæde, on Honeybourne. Of Honeybourne on hrefnes pytt, of refnes pytt on long slædes on braddan stret, on long stret on þara of þara pytt þara on Podden Ho. So today I'm following the boundaries of the Saxon estate of Podden Ho, which today is in Honeybourne civil parish. And Podden Ho means Podder's heel-based hill, heel-shaped hill. It can mean the end of a ridge, which I think it does. I'm going to go and take you over to have a look at the nearest hill in a second. But Saxon charters describe the boundaries of an estate so that they can claim ownership of that land without any disputes. So it says go from Bill's tree to Jim's farm down to the river, and that's how it is described. And that's the same with this charter. This charter goes from place to place, and it is not quite the same as it is today, because like I say, it's only part of the current parish. But by studying these things, we can understand how English people looked at their landscape, their environment 1,000 years ago. But you don't need old charters to say something about the landscape, because lots of things have been forgotten. The word bourne, for example, you don't reach for that word when you're trying to describe a stream, or go down to the bourne and then turn left if you're giving somebody directions. But it's still enough in English for us to understand what it is. It's just archaic. But it means stream. It is the Scots burne, and that's very similar to how it would have been pronounced in Old English times. The Scots have retained that R, the pronunciation of R's in the middle of words, which we don't, Southern English people don't often do. But the people of this parish, or certainly the commissioners of the maps that were made of this place, didn't recognise the name of this village as meaning a stream, and gave a different name to the stream. So the stream that runs through it is called Gatin Brook today. This village remembers the original name, or the earliest name we know of that stream, and it is the bourne of honey. What is also forgotten in this parish is this alternative name for this Roman road that runs through it. Now this is the Roman road I've done multiple videos on further south in the Cotswolds. We're now below the Cotswolds, and it's had multiple names, including Buckle, Berg Hilders, the Strat. Here it's got an alternative, in this chart it's got an alternative name, Braddan stret, which means broad street, broad Roman road. Buckle Street is remembered in the area. There's Buckle cottages just to the north of the village. But this is, we're adding quite a corpus of early medieval names for this Roman road. That is called today New Hill, and I can't understand how you could get a name like that with a hill. hills are millions, billions of years old. It can be a hoch. Now that comes through to us today through Middle English to ho. So when you think of Plymouth Ho, that's a hoch as well. And it is a hill that goes something like that and then has a heel like that. And that is hard to see from the trees, but it certainly is the end of a ridge. Now on the map it looks really far away, but those cottages over there are called cottages. It isn't very far away at all. Obviously, it's a 5-minute walk. So as the crow flies. So I think we might have answered the first question I had for this video was, can we show a hoch here? And I think we can. There is one other candidate. We'll have a look at that as well. Parkour. Oh look, yeah, this is a Honeybourne. What a pretty what a pretty stream with a pretty name. You can see more clearly the nose of that ridge. The nose of that ridge coming down there. Yeah, it's quite clear. That's a hoch. Those might be platforms for cottages. Maybe a small village here. Well, I didn't know he was going to get as far as the General Synod, did I? So, you know, he should have kept his hands to himself, shouldn't he? God, dear.
Honeybourne is next to the Roman road today, and it's still a road today, which suggests that this road has been in use since the Roman times. It hasn't fallen away like many Roman roads have. But this Saxon estate is not the estate of Honeybourne. The centre of this estate is Podden, probably this farm or the cottages somewhere around about there, which is around about 1,000 yards from the Roman road. So the lord of this estate, or the knechtár or the then of this estate, chose to have the seat of his estate 1,000 yards away from the stret. Has decided that any passing trade along that road is not important enough to him to not have his seat more to the middle of his estate, which is interesting in itself. The circumstances of that sort of thinking is unclear to us now. We don't really know why he or she did that. There are incidentally many place names with women's names, so the lord of this estate could have been a halafdia, a lady, but it's certainly of interest. I do continually raise the point that the Anglo-Saxons built their settlements away from Roman remains, and very often that is disputed by others. But I think here they did build it away from the Roman remains and later moved to where the village is today. There are a couple of locations in this charter I can't locate. The þúris pytt is one of them, and that means þúris doesn't easily translate. Probably the easiest translation is ogre, because the þúris is a monster that particularly affects women. We know that from Scandinavian myth. Even in English references, it is a monster of some kind. But the Norwegian and the Icelandic rune poems do reinforce this women danger that they pose. So please excuse my brief foray into the musings of these hairy fjord-dwelling, civilization-wrecking drunks, and give you a quote from the rune poem. Þúris valda kvinna gefillu, katra vertra farofillu. And what that means is, giant causes anguish to women, misfortune makes few men cheerful. Now, don't get hung up on that translation of giant. We don't know how big they are at all. It's the antiquarians, when they were doing these sort of translations, a monster meant a giant to them. See Jackson Crawford's excellent videos for why he thinks giants weren't big.
Damsons there, those aren't slædes, so those have been nice and sweet. Right, I'm navigating my way back to the car, and I'm looking for a hedge that has a stream underneath it. Now I forgot to count how many hedges I'd gone along, so I need some signs in the landscape to help me work out where the stream might be. And for you out there that don't know, those are willows along there, and a willow needs water. There's so many willows along there, you know there's a stream running along there, or at least a muddy ditch. So I just thought I'd point that out to you, that we have, there are signs in the landscape for you to work out what's going on in the countryside. Anyway, on my last video I made a cryptic comment about the king, and I did actually record a long monologue. And what that was about was, I was dismayed to find out 2 videos along that certain individuals in the upper classes hadn't obeyed the law, and I wanted to talk about the British Constitution. Other people shouldn't have a get out of jail free card, yeah, but I deleted it all. It's irrelevant to my channel though. Commentary about the Constitution might be of interest to you, and it's certainly of interest to me. It is something that I would do on, because it's about British history. Since then, Elon Musk has given a speech to telling them that Parliament should be dissolved. So I have to answer this one, and the reason why that can't happen is that we have a constitution in this country, the conventions of which can't be obliterated just because billionaires think it should be. So the king does have reserve powers to dissolve Parliament when requested to do so by his ministers, and I'm sure under emergency situations, that reserve part, say there's a major disaster, a tsunami, an explosion, a war, whatever, the king probably could do that. But as we saw in Brexit, when they tried to prorogue Parliament, the Prime Minister went to the King and said, I want you to shut Parliament's doors for a couple of weeks.
It went to the Supreme Court, and the Supreme Court said, not on your Nelly, that is against the Constitution. You can't do it. So Elon, sorry, whoever is filling your head full of crap, they don't know what they're talking about. We have a robust and stable constitution, and so lacking in arbitrary power, that even the Prime Minister and the King together can't undermine it. So that's useful to the left. The left often worries about such things as being in a constitutional monarchy, but the monarchy can't do anything about what the left wants to get up to, except for you have to get the permission of the King to discuss the nature of the monarchy. That's one of its protections. But even then, constitutionally, if the Prime Minister says that the King should give permission, it would cause a constitutional crisis if he didn't allow it. So that did happen in '99, I think, over the Iraq War. Parliamentarians wanted to take the decision to go to war away from instead of being a presidential sovereign power, like the President of the United States can go to war if he wants to. He can bomb places if he wants to. It's a sovereign power that the American president has. Parliamentarians wanted to take it into Parliament, and the Prime Minister of the time said, if it's 99, he would have been a Labour Prime Minister, advised the Queen at the time not to do it. So I just wanted to, I may do more on things like the British Constitution, because a main theme of what I'm trying to do is talk about Britain, how there are few breaks in it. It's a line of philosophical, political ideas from the Bronze Age onwards. You could argue earlier, because the Neolithic stone circles were venerated by Bronze Age people who built their barrows around it, so they were venerating it. So ideas were coming through from the Neolithic. But it is, I mean, I can talk about, perhaps do some stuff on the English Civil War, the American Revolution, things like that. What role we played during the ending of slavery, and the American Civil War, things like this. So you could argue a lot of things that happened in America was a continuation of what happened in England in the 1600s. But yeah, I just thought I'd sort of tie off that loose end. There was a long polemic I'd recorded, but I've got rid of it. Hello cockers, hello darlings, come on in, rub your nose. Hello sweethearts. Hello. So I'm on a public footpath, which I've slightly lost. Oh, there it is. And so you will meet animals, and horses. The one thing you've got to think, horses are properly domesticated, but they do bite. Shall I tell this story? Oh, maybe. Oh, anyway. Yeah, well, police horses certainly bite. But anyway, back in my salad days. And, but their main weapon is the back hooves. So
if they turn their back on you and look really annoyed, you might be about to get the sort of whack you'd only get from, well, like Mike Tyson. But it is pretty bad. But they are, you know, they love affection. They're bored like cattle. Anyway, here we are. I don't know whether you can see it. There's a system of platforms and holloways, and what that tells you is that there was a medieval village here, and we're right next to a moat, and there's a house over there, just over to my right. Now I'm sort of in people's backyards, so I don't like to spy on people, but what it tells, it is a public bath, but I don't have to shove the camera lens right towards them. But it is, what it tells us is that house has got a lot of continuity. That farm originally started off as a farm, had workers on it, and then we got, probably, this might be what happened, I'm only guessing, they decided to make a profit with sheep. You don't need men and women to plough land at this point, and if they don't have common rights, then if they don't have tenure, then they can be evicted. But that could be why this village no longer exists. It could be plague. I don't think it is. It's more likely to be economic. And but nonetheless, the farm itself has continuity. It goes way, way back, at least to the 12th century. Look at that. That has shell inclusions, see there? And it's fairly rough fabric. It is a piece of rim. So diagnosis please, all you paleo mannish nosologists out there. Look at that, look at the way that fabric has just been, you know, mashed about and compressed. Yeah, you mannish nosologists out there, tell me what you think. It's a nice profile. Look at that profile. Oh, I like that. I like that a lot. I'm going to have to keep my head down looking for any more. We could clean it up a bit, hem the end, you know, maybe buy a new one that's not so faded.